वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूष सर्ववेदैकसत्फल सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नार्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिद्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तितः परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु ते। मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महादन मन्निष्ठारक मद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तु ते। असाधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक आणमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णा हृत्कण्ठयोस्फुर। I'll just come 1 second. So 98th anuccheda, the Vedic sound reveals Bhagavan. Tadevam Bhagavata eva sarva vedartatvam darshitam. So it has been shown that Bhagavan alone is the purpose of all the Vedas. From the 10th canto, 87th chapter, prayers of the personified Vedas, one of the chapter which is philosophically chapter filled with so much of philosophy. deep tattva, very important chapter. There are 20, I think, 28 prayers of the personified Vedas. So the first shloka is the question asked by Parishit Maharaj. And Shukdev Goswami gives answers to the question. That first two shlokas of the 87th chapter, the 10th canto, those two chapters, those two shlokas itself are considered to be the Brahma Upanishad. Those two shlokas are the question by Parishit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami's answer. Those two shlokas those two shlokas combined are considered to be Upanishad, Brahma Upanishad, Upanishad which describes about the supreme absolute truth. So this first part of this 98 anuccheda, the question of Parishit Maharaj is being discussed. Tatra Rajnyaha Prashnaha. Parishit Maharaj raises a question. Shri Vishnurata Uvacha. Vishnurata, one who is protected by Vishnu. So you can repeat this shloka. Brahmanya Nirdeshye
ब्रह्मन् ब्रह्मण्य निर्देश्ये
Nirgune Gunavrittayah
निर्गुणे गुणवृत्तयः
Katham Charanti Shrutayah
कथं चरन्ति श्रुतयः
Sakshat Sadasatah Pare.
साक्षात् सदसतः परे.
So Brahmanya Nirdeshya. Brahman, Sambodhana Vibhakti word. O Brahmana. Brahmanya here refers to the Vedas. Katham, question is there. How can the Vedas, which are functioning within the three gunas, Gunavrittayah. Sorry, Shrutayah is the word for Vedas. Shrutayah. Katham Shrutayah. Gunavrittayah is a Visheshana for Shrutayah. How can the Vedas, which are Gunavrittayah, functioning within the three gunas, describe the Brahman? Brahmanya Nirdeshe. How can they describe the Brahman, which is, what is the characteristic of the Brahman? Nirgune. So Charan, which is actually Nirgune, which is beyond the three gunas, free from the three gunas. And Brahmanya Anirdeshe. Brahmanya Brahmani Anirdeshe, because of Sandhi it has become Brahmanya Anirdeshe. So Anirdeshe means which is indeterminable. The absolute truth is actually indeterminable, Anirdeshe. Nirgune, free from the gunas. And Sad Asata Pare, which is transcendental to both cause and effect. So there are three adjectives to describe Brahman, absolute truth. Anirdeshye, Nirgune, and Sadasata Pare. And Gunavrittayah is adjective for describing the word Shrutayah. How can the Vedas, which deal with the three modes, because generally Vedas are speaking about the Karma Kanda, which are about sacrifices to fulfill different desires, which are functioning within the three modes. So how can the Vedas functioning within the three modes, Katham Charanti, how can they directly describe Sakshat Charanti, how can they directly describe the Brahman, which is Anirdeshi, indeterminable, free from the gunas, and transcendental to both cause and effect. This is the shloka's meaning. So, are you able to see the screen? Maybe little smaller font. Asya artah. Asya artha, the meaning of the shloka. Shrutayas tavat shabdamatrasya sadharanyad guneshu sattvadishu vrittir yasam tadrushyo drishyante. The Shrutis appear to be functioning in the material gunas, such as Sattva guna, because they are composed of sounds that appear to be like any material sound. Just like any material sound. Similarly, the Shrutis also appear to be like any material sound. The Shrutis appear to be functioning within the material gunas, like Sattva guna or Rajo guna. Sadharanyat guneshu sattvadishu vrittir yasam tadrushyo drishyante. So Brahma tu nirgunam satvadi gunatitam tasmadeva anirdeshyam. But on the other hand, Brahman is nirguna, free from the gunas like Sattva guna. Because it is free from the gunas, it is anirdeshyam. It is indeterminable. So tattat guna karya bhuta jati guna kriyakyanam gunantaranam abhavas padatvat tadrisha dravyasya api aprasiddhatvad anirdeshyam. So more reasons are given why the Brahman is anirdeshya. First reason is that Brahman is beyond the three gunas, therefore it is anirdeshya. But more reasons are given why it is anirdeshya. Tattad guna karya bhuta jati guna kriyakyanam gunantaranam abhavas padatvat tadrisha dravyasya api aprasiddhitvat anirdeshyam. Satvadi karya bhutabhyam sad asadbyam कार्य कारणाभ्याम परमिति तेना संबंधम चेत्यर्थः. So this will be little philosophically heavy. When we go through the commentary, it will become more clear. But first go through the translation. So the Brahman is indeterminable. This means that Brahman is indeterminable. First, because it is devoid of all qualities by which objects are determined. Tattad guna karya bhuta jati guna kriyakyanam gunantaranam abhavas padat. Because Brahman is without qualities. So there Brahman is, because it is devoid of all qualities. But generally, different objects are determined with the help of their qualities, such as a jati, class, or a guna, attributes, or a kriya, or actions, which are all products of the gunas, which are jati, guna, and kriya. They are all products of the three gunas. But because the Brahman is actually nirgune, it is devoid of all qualities. So therefore, Brahman is indeterminable. And then second reason is given. Satvadi karya bhutabhyam sad asadbyam karya karanabhyam param. Because no such entity is within the common range of people's experience. Because no such qualityless entity In this world, we don't have experience of any entity which is quality less, at the same time can be perceived by a person, by people. In this world, there is no example of an entity which can be perceived by the people, but which has no qualities. So, कार्यकारणाभ्यां परमिति तेन तेना संबंध्यम चेत्यर्थः तथा च सति and also Brahman is transcendental to the gunas like sattva and to their products sat asat pare. Brahman is transcendental to the gunas like sattva guna and to their products, and Brahman is beyond both cause and effect sat asata pare, and it is without connection to any of this. It is without connection to any of this. Sad asadbyam karya karanabhyam paramiti tena asambandham chetyartah. So basically, Jiva Goswami is explaining why Brahman is indeterminable. Because it is beyond the three gunas. It has no qualities, nirgune. And in this world, whatever we perceive, which belongs to a jati or guna or kriya, everything has some quality. So we don't perceive anything without a quality. If Brahman is without a quality, nirgune, without the guna, then it cannot be perceivable. And Brahman is beyond cause and effect. Sad asata pare is beyond transcendental to the gunas like sattva and to their products. And it is beyond both cause and effect. And then further he says, Tatacha sati yata ditvachi yata dittavachi kasmimschid द्वितीये द्रव्ये कस्मिंश्चित् अद्वितीये द्रव्ये तच्छब्दस्य मुख्यावृत्तिः प्रवर्तते. So this being the case, mukhya-vritti means primary meaning. Just as the primary meaning of the word ditta, dittavachi, tatacha sati yata dittavachi, the primary meaning of the word ditta is a peerless object. And yatacha simho devadattah ityatra gaunaya vritya shaurya gunayukte devadatte simha shabdah pravartate. And the statement simho devadattah, devadatta is a lion. The word lion by its secondary meaning, gauna vritti. So what is mukhya vritti, what is gauna vritti? We will just go through the commentary. Devadatta is a lion. We have to take a secondary meaning. That means Devadatta is endowed with the qualities like the lion, like courage. Devadatta, who is endowed with the attribute of courage. And then Yatacha Gangayam Goshaha Ityatra Lakshanaya Vritya Ganga Shabdas Tasmin it asambandhe tate pravartate. In the sentence Gangayam Goshaha, the village hamlet on the Ganges. Here we have to take the Lakshana Vritti. There are three terms: Mukhya Vritti, Gauna Vritti, Lakshana Vritti. In the sentence Gangayam Gosha, we have to take the Lakshana Vritti. It means basically village on the bank of the Ganges. So in the sentence Ditta, we take the Mukhya Vritti, a peerless object. In the sentence Simho Devadattaha, we take the meaning by using the Gauna Vritti. Devadatta is courageous like a lion. In the sentence Gangayam Goshaha, we take the Lakshana Vritti, a village on the bank of the Ganges. The village Gosha on the bank of the Ganges. So, Tata Tattad Abhavaspade Brahmani Taya Taya Vritya Shrutayaha Katam Pravarteran. But since the word Brahman is devoid of all such vrittis, Tattad Abhavaspade Brahmani, how can the Shrutis possibly refer to it by any of them? So generally, any sentence, the meaning of any sentence, the meaning of an sentence can be understood either through Mukhya Vritti or through Gauna Vritti or through Lakshana Vritti. But Brahman, because it is Anirdeshya, it is indeterminable. How can the Vedas refer to Brahman by any of these three vrittis? Either by Mukhya Vritti, Gauna Vritti or by Lakshana Vritti. So Sridhar Swami is basically explaining the question of Parikshit Maharaj. So generally, meaning of any sentence is understood through any of these three vrittis. Vritti means what? Vritti means pada artayoho sambandha. Pada means a particular word. Artha is the meaning. The relation between the word and its meaning, that is called as vritti. And there are three types of vrittis. Mukhya vritti, the primary meaning. And then there is a Gauna vritti. When the Mukhya vritti does not make sense, then we have to take the secondary meaning, like Simho Devadattaha. If we take the literal meaning, Devadatta is lion. But literally it doesn't make sense because Devadatta does not have a tail. Devadatta does not have a form like a lion. Devadatta is a human being, it's a person, it's a male. But literally when we take Devadatta is a lion, Simho Devadatta, it does not make sense. Therefore we take the Gauna Vritti. That means Devadatta is courageous like a lion. And when we say Gangayam Gosha, Gosha village on the Ganges, literally it does not make sense. A village cannot be on the Ganges. Therefore, we take the Lakshana Vritti, village on the bank of the Ganges. So generally, any meaning is described using these three types of vrittis. But how can the Vedas describe the Brahman through any of these three vrittis? So that is the question. Further, Shrutinam cha. I'm not able to highlight, I don't know. Not able to highlight this. Okay. Shrutinam cha Shastra Yonitvat iti nyayena tat pratipadakata tat pratipadakata tat pratipadakatayam ananyanam tatra pravrittir avashyam vaktavya. So, according to the principle, there is a Vedanta Sutra, Shastra Yonitvat. What is the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra? This is the third Vedanta Sutra. The third Vedanta Sutra. Brahman is known only through the Shastra. This is the meaning of this Vedanta Sutra. So according to the Sutra, it must be said that the Shrutis explain the Brahman and no other. Tat pratipadakatayam ananyanam tatra pravrittir avashyam vaktavya. So Vedas do describe Brahman. Vedas describe Brahman and nobody else. But then Brahman is nirgune, sad asat pare. Therefore it is anirdeshye. So then how can the Brahman be described by the Vedas by using mukhya, lakshana or gauna vritti? Further, swata pramananam cha tasam mukhya pravrittistu visheshato vaktavya. Additionally, since they are self-authoritative, Vedas are self-authoritative. It's not that Vedas, swata pramana means it's like generally in this world we accept somebody as an authority on the basis of somebody else's word. So I accept this college as a bona fide college based on the AICTE recommendation. I accept this doctor as a bona fide because he is certified by the medical council. But in the case of the Vedas, Vedas are self-authoritative. Swata pramananam cha. Since Vedas are self-authoritative, it must also specifically be said that their principal meaning is Brahman. Tasam mukhya vrittistu visheshato vaktavya. So therefore, since the Vedas are self-authoritative, it must also specifically be said that the principal meaning is Brahman. So tasmat tasmim sta sakshad rupataya mukhyaya vritya kena prakarena charanti. Therefore, the question being raised is, kindly instruct me how the Shrutis explain Brahman directly by their primary meaning. I specifically want to know this. Tam prakaram visheshatah kripayapi swayam upadisha iti. This is the question of Parishit Maharaj. That kindly explain how the Vedas describe the Brahman directly by their primary meaning. Anyata padartatva ayogad apadartasya. Anyata padartatva yogad padartasya cha vakyartatva yogan na shrutigocharatvam brahmanaha syaditi sthite kutastaram tad uparichara spurter bhagavatas tad gocharatvam. Otherwise, if Brahman is not even an object intended by a word, that is apadartha, padartatva ayogad apadartasya. If Brahman is not even an object intended by a word, that is apadartha, then the Shrutis cannot describe the Brahman. Vakyartatva ayogan na shruti gocharatvam. The Shrutis cannot describe Brahman. Since an apadartha is without connection to any verbal meaning. Na shruti gocharatvam brahmanah. Then the Shrutis cannot describe Brahman. If the Brahman is not an object intended by a word, then the Brahman will be apadartha. Then it cannot be described by the Vedas. If this is the case, how then could the Shrutis describe the Bhagavan, the realization of whom is higher even than Brahman? So kutastaram tad uparichara spurter bhagavas tad gocharatva. If the Brahman itself, the formless aspect of the absolute truth, if they cannot be described by the Vedas, then how can Bhagavan, who is higher than the Brahman, how can he be described by the Vedas? Tat upari aspurter Bhagavatas tad gocharatva. So tat katameva स्वभक्त्योः इत्यादौ स्वतःप्रमाणभूतानां वेदानां मार्गं भगवत्परत्वम् आदिश्य इत्युक्तम् इति. And then why was it said at the end of the previous chapter, that is 10th canto 86th chapter 59th shloka? What is that shloka? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
एवं स्वभक्तयो राजन् भगवान् भक्तभक्तिमान् उषित्वादिश्य सन्मार्गं पुनर्द्वारवती गमात्. Punardwaravati Magat. This verse is quoted. O king, thus the personality of Godhead who is devoted to his own devotees, stayed for some time with his two great devotees, Shutadeva and Bahulashva, teaching them the behavior of perfect saints. Then the Lord returned to Dwaraka. So in this particular shloka, what is being quoted is that स्वभक्तयोः इत्यादौ स्वतःप्रमाणभूतानां वेदानां मार्गं भगवत् परत्वमादिश्य इत्युक्तम् इति. Why was it said at the end of the previous chapter that the Lord instructed the two devotees in Sanmargam? Sanmargam, Upadishya, Adishya. That the Lord instructed the devotees. The Lord instructed the two devotees in surrender to Bhagavan, which is the path of the self-authoritative Vedas. If the Vedas cannot describe the Brahman, then what to speak of the Bhagavan who is above the Brahman? Then how can it be said that Krishna instructed Shrutadev and Bahulashva in the Sanmarga, in the path of surrender to Bhagavan? That is the question. स्वतः प्रामाण्य सिद्धये मुख्य वाक्यानां तु साक्षात् charanam avashyam vaktavyam. To establish the swata pramanatvam, the self-validity of the Vedas, at least their primary statements must directly describe the Brahman. Lakshanadau pramanantara moolatvat. At least the primary statement must directly describe the Brahman, because other statements, such as those that carry the Lakshana Vritti, indicative meaning, depend on some other authority. Tato yatra lakshanadikam api na sambhavati tatra katantaram sakshat charanamiti bhava. So the essence of the question is that if even the indicative meaning is not possible in Brahman, then how can the direct meaning apply? So this is the first part of the anuccheda. Let us try to understand the meaning little more deeply. In the previous 95th and 96th anuccheda, it was shown that Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic literature. And Srimad Bhagavatam aims only at Bhagavan. That Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmat Saranam, that verse was discussed in detail in 95th Anucheda. And the 96th Anucheda, We saw the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. The essential meaning of Chatushloki Bhagavatam is Bhagavan. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of the Vedas, aims only at Bhagavan. That was shown. Then in the previous Anuccheda, it was shown that Bhagavan is the common subject of all the scriptures, whether directly or indirectly ascertained. And previously, however, it was established that Bhagavan is supremely transcendental to any kind of phenomenality. Phenomenal means anything which is gross. Phenomenal and numinous, two words are there. Numinous means subtle, phenomenal means gross, we can say. So Bhagavan is supremely transcendental to phenomenality of any kind. Hearing all this, one may raise an objection. Sound is basically material. The sound is produced by material instruments. So then how can the scriptures, which are nothing but an embodiment of sound, how can the scriptures describe the transcendental Lord? The Lord is transcendental, but the sound is material. How can material sound describe the transcendental Lord? It is like if the transcendental Lord has to be described by sound, the sound also has to be transcendental. So, in response to this, Jiva Goswami provides a lengthy analysis explaining how sound can approach Bhagavan, who is beyond the three gunas. And in order to do so, Jiva Goswami is citing Parishit Maharaj's question and Shukdev Goswami's answer. 10.87.1 and 2. So all the literatures, any book is composed of the words. So every word, every Sanskrit pada means a word, has a meaning. And there is a relation between the word and its meaning. So a word has a potency that's called a Shakti, by which it conveys its meaning. So that potency is called as vritti. So primarily, the vrittis of all words can be divided into three groups. Abhida vritti, that means Abhida vritti is also called as Mukhya vritti, primary meaning. And then Lakshana vritti, secondary or indicative meaning. And Vyanjana vritti, that is suggestive meaning. So Abhida vritti is sometimes called as Mukhya vritti. So the meanings conveyed through these three vrittis are designated with reference to their corresponding vritti. So the meaning derived through Abhida vritti is called as Abhidartha or Mukhyartha. The meaning conveyed using Abhida vritti is called as Mukhyartha or Abhidartha. So the primary meaning is that which comes to our mind as soon as the word is heard. And this is the popular meaning of the word. Or it's also, we can say, dictionary meaning. Or we learn this meaning also from the learned people. When we say cow, as soon as you hear a word cow, then immediately the picture of an animal with four legs and tails immediately comes to your mind. So the Abhida vritti is of three types. One is Yaugiki. Yaugiki, when the word's meaning is derived from the combined potency of its root and suffixes. That is called the Prakriti and Pratyaya. Prakriti is called as the root. Prakriti can be a noun, nama, or it can be a dhatu, verb. And there is a pratyaya, suffix. So Yaugiki means the combined potency of Prakriti and Pratyaya, the meaning we obtain, that is called as Yaugiki. So the meaning is called as Yaugiki Abhida, and the potency is called as Yaugiki Abhida Vritti. So for example, if you hear the word Pachaka, Pachaka is a combination of Pach Dhatu. Dhatu means verbal root. And Trich Pratyaya. Nul Pratyaya. There is a Nul Pratyaya. So Pach and Nul Pratyaya. The Nul Pratyaya comes in the meaning of the doer of that activity. The one who knows the rules of the grammar would easily understand the meaning. So Pach plus Nul Pratyaya, the word is Pachaka. That means a cook, a person who is a cook, one who cooks. So this is a Yaugiki Abhida Vritti. And second is the Rudi Abhida Vritti. When the sense of a word is completely independent of the inherent meaning derived from the root and the suffix, that is called a Rudi Vritti. It's also called as a conventional meaning. For example, the word Mandapa. Mandapa means a pavilion or a hall. But if we take literally based on the Prakriti and Pratyaya, the Mandapa means one who drinks rice water. Mandam Pibati. One who drinks rice water. Mandam Pibati. Or one who guards ornaments. Mandam Pibati. Or Mandam Bhusham Pati. One who is guarding the ornaments. So literally, when we take from the Prakriti and Pratyaya, the word Mandapa can mean one who drinks rice water. Mandam Pibati. Or Mandam Bhusham Pati. One who guards ornaments. But here, the meaning is not dependent on the combined meaning of the Prakriti and Pratyaya, but we use the word Mandapa as a hall, as a courtyard. So here we take the Rudi Artha, not the Yaugiki Artha. We take the conventional meaning of the word Mandapa as the hall instead of the etymological meaning, which is actually a person who drinks water or a person who guards the ornaments. And the third type of Abhida Vritti is called as Yoga Rudi. That means a combination of Yaugika and Rudi. So in this case, the meaning of the word is rooted in the power of its constituents. It has become associated with only one specific instance of that meaning. For example, the word Pankaja. The word Pankaja, literally it means what? According to Yaugiki Artha, Pankaj Jayate. That which is born out of the mud. This is the Yaugiki Artha, etymological meaning. That which is born, Panka means mud. Panka Jayate Pankaja. So, there are many entities which take birth in the mud. There are many types of insects which take birth in the mud. And lotus also takes birth in the mud. So Pankaja, literally it can refer to many insects and also lotus. But then we use the word Pankaja specifically to refer to the lotus only. So the Pankaja specifically refers only to the lotus. So in Pankaja, in one sense, there is a Yaugika Artha is also there, Rudi Artha is also there. Pankaja literally means what? That which takes birth in the mud. It applies to the lotus. At the same time, it refers only to the lotus. We don't refer to the other insects with the pankaja because we take the rudi artha. In that way, there are three types of the mukhya vritti: yaugiki, rudi, and yoga rudi. And then the second is the lakshana vritti. Lakshana vritti. Lakshana, when the primary meaning fails to render the primary meaning, which is called as mukhya vritti or abhida vritti, when it fails to render the proper meaning of a word in a particular context, then it is abandoned. And a secondary meaning is sought that is related to the primary meaning in some way. So, for example, it is stated in the Nyaya Siddhanta Muktavali that Nyaya Siddhanta Muktavali, it is said that Lakshana Shakya Sambandhas Tatparya Anupapattitaha. When the speaker's intent is not understood through the primary meaning. When the speaker's intent is not understood through the primary meaning of the words, then the Lakshana vritti is taken. Lakshana Shakya Sambandhas Tatparya Anupapattitaha. So, for example, if we say that Radha Gopinath temple is situated on the road, literally speaking, it's not possible. It's not that Radha Gopinath temple is on the road. So, literally, it doesn't make sense. Primary meaning does not make sense. So, we have to understand that Radha Gopinath temple is situated on the side of the road, besides the road. Or Gangayam Gosha. Gosha village on the Ganges. Literally, it doesn't make sense. Mukhya vritti does not make sense. Therefore, we say Gosha village on the bank of the Ganges. So, Lakshana vritti has three divisions: Ajagat Swartha, Jagat Swartha, and Jagat Ajagat Swartha. Ajagat Swartha means without giving up the original meaning of the word. For example, Kunta Pravishanti. The spears are entering. The spears refers to the people carrying the spears. Kunta Dari. So, in this sentence, the meaning of the word Kunta has not been dropped, but expanded to refer to those carrying them. Extended to refer to those carrying them. Therefore, the original meaning of the word is not dropped, but the meaning is extended to those who are carrying the spears. This is Ajagat Swartha. And in Jagat Swartha, the original meaning of the word is dropped, as in Gangayam Gosha. So here, Ganga refers to river. But we translate the word Gangayam Gosha as bank of the river Ganges. Village on the bank of the river. So bank is actually different from the river. The original meaning is completely dropped. We take Ganga as the bank of the Ganges. So this is Jagat Swartha. And there is Jagat Ajagat Swartha. That is part of the meaning. Part of the meaning is dropped and another part is preserved. For example, Tattvam Asi. You are that. Is a famous example given by the Advaitavadis for Jagat Ajagat Swartha. So Tat refers to Brahman, Tvam refers to the individual being. The two are equated in the statement, Tattvamasi. But the individual living entity is Alpagya. And the Brahman is Sarvagya. So how can they be absolutely equal? So the individual being is limited by a material body, whereas Brahman is unlimited consciousness. If the two pronouns that refer respectively to Brahman and the living being are dropped, then what remains is consciousness, and that is what is being equated in this sentence. So the individual living entity is a is a conscious being, but who is limited by a body. And the Brahman is also a conscious being, but who is unlimited. So when then so literally the limited living entity and the unlimited Brahman cannot be equal. So then how do we understand Tattvamasi? It refers to the consciousness in the limited living being and the consciousness of the unlimited Brahman. The consciousness is being equated. That consciousness is of the same nature. So that is being equated. The pronouns are dropped and the consciousness that is being actually equated. So that is what is being equated in this sentence. This is an example of Jagat Ajagat Swartha. And then there are third type of meaning, that is Vyanjana Vritti. So when the Abhida Vritti, that is Mukhya Vritti, and Lakshana Vritti have made the respective contributions, and yet more meaning is needed to complete the sense. That means even after Mukhya Vritti and Lakshana Vritti, you are not able to completely understand the meaning of the sentence. Then one looks for the Vyanjana Vritti. So, for example, say, when you say Shri Radha Gopinath temple, the statement about the Radha Gopinath temple, a person has understood the location of Radha Gopinath temple. But further, after understanding the location of Radha Gopinath temple, further suggested meanings may arise, such as that it is approachable by a vehicle. Such a suggested meaning has no relation to the primary meaning of the words themselves. So Vyanjana Vritti has thousands of divisions, and it is beyond the scope of this discussion to enter into them. So suffice it to say that the two main ones are Shabdi or Vyanjana based on the word, and Arti that based on the meaning. So Vyanjana Vritti has many types. Vyanjana Vritti means suggested meaning. So there are many types of Vyanjana Vritti, but two primary divisions of Vyanjana Vritti is Vyanjana Vritti based on the word and Vyanjana Vritti suggested meaning based on the meaning of the word. For example, let us see the example, it will become more clear. So of all the types of meanings, Vyanjana Vritti is the most difficult to comprehend. Especially in the Kavya. In many Kavyas, Vyanjana Vritti is used by the poets. Especially in the Bhagavatam 10th canto, many Vyanjana Vrittis are used. Bhagavatam has the style of Vedas, Puranas, and also a Kavya. Vedas instruct a living entity like a master instructs a servant in a very straightforward manner. Puranas instruct a living entity like a friend speaks to another friend. Kavyas instruct a living entity like a lover speaking to the beloved. In the Kavya, many Vyanjana Vritti style is used. Suggested meaning. So some scholars occasionally count Gauni Vritti as a fourth category. Jiva Goswami has also done this. So Gauni Vritti is a metaphorical in nature, such as Simho Manavakaha, the lion boy. So the boy is not a lion, but he has some of the characteristics of a lion, like courage. So in this analysis, which is a more standard one, Gauni simply forms a part of the Lakshana Vritti. Gauni simply forms a part of the Lakshana Vritti. So in Sahitya Darpana, which is a standard book on poetics, the three types of vrittis are explained: Abhida vritti, Lakshana vritti, and Vyanjana vritti. So the three types of meanings are called as Vachya, Lakshya, and Vyangya. So in Sahitya Darpan, it is explained that Artho Vachyascha Lakshyascha Vyangyascheti Trida Mataha. So it is said that Vachyorto Abhidaya Bodhyo Lakshyo Lakshanaya Mataha Vyangyo Vyanjanaya Ta Yustistra Shabdasya Shaktayah. So the Vachya meaning of a word is known from Abhida, the primary meaning. Lakshya is known through the Lakshana. Lakshya meaning of a sentence or a word is known through Lakshana. And Vyangya meaning is known through the Vyanjana. These are the three potencies of a word. Three potencies of the word are Abhida, Lakshana, and Vyanjana. Through these three potencies, we get three meanings. That is Vachyartha and Lakshyartha and Vyangyartha. This is a small diagram. Vrittis are of three types: Abhida Vritti, Lakshana Vritti, Vyanjana Vritti. So Abhida Vritti has three types: Yaugiki, Rudi, and Yoga Rudi. Lakshana Vritti has three types: Jagat Swartha, Ajagat Swartha, Ajagat Swartha. And then some people also give the fourth category, that is Gauni Vritti. And Vyanjana Vritti has many types. Out of the two primary Vyanjana Vritti are Shabdi and Arti. So, what is the purpose of this analysis in relation to this Bhagavatam shloka? So, the purpose of this analysis is to provide a background to the following discussion. So, when deriving the meaning of a word based on Abhida Vritti, which is same as Mukhya Vritti, so one does not have to resort to any other help, such as logic. One directly takes the meaning. So the meaning comes directly and naturally from the word. So the meaning conveyed by Abhida Vritti is self-authoritative. When I say cow, go means a cow. The meaning of the word is the word itself is self-authoritative. We don't use any other logic to understand the meaning of the word through the Mukhya Vritti. But however, when a person takes the meaning based on Lakshana Vritti or Vyanjana Vritti, one has to look to something other than the primary meaning of the word. Although such meaning is not self-authoritative, it does not imply that such interpretations or explanations are without value. In the case of Lakshana Vritti and Vyanjana Vritti, we don't take the literal meaning. We also use some logic. The village cannot be on the Ganges. So therefore, it has to mean village on the bank of the Ganges. In that way, we are using a logic. So Vyanjana Vritti and Lakshana Vritti are not self-authoritative. But it doesn't mean that they are without value. Without recourse to Lakshana Vritti and Vyanjana Vritti, it would be impossible to understand the intent of the Vedic literature or to reconcile the contradictions found therein. To reconcile the contradictions found there. So Lakshana Vritti is used only when the primary meaning fails to convey a proper sense. But when a word directly conveys the sense adequately, it is considered a deviation. If you try to understand the meaning using Lakshana Vritti, when the primary meaning directly conveys the when the primary meaning of a sentence directly conveys a meaning, and then still if you resort to Lakshana Vritti, then it is considered a deviation. That means you are interpreting. This is one of the main objection given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Prakashanand Saraswati and Sarvam Bhattacharya about the explanation given by Shankaracharya to the Vedanta Sutra. Mahaprabhu said that Vedanta Sutras, the meaning of the Vedanta Sutras are as clear like the sun. But your explanations are like a cloud which is covering that sun. When the primary meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is very clearly known, why are you giving an explanation which covers the primary meaning? Why are you giving an impersonal explanation? That is Mahaprabhu's this one. So, and then another crucial point to be borne in mind is that without having a primary meaning, there is no possibility that a word could have a secondary or implied meaning either. Because the secondary meaning is also connected with the primary meaning. Ganga means Ganga Pravaha, the river Ganges. But Gangayam Gosha, there, the village on the bank of the Ganges. Village on the bank of the Ganges. So, when I say suppose Manchaha Kroshanti, Mancha means a stage, Kroshanti means a shouting. So, stages are shouting. So, can a stage shout? Literally doesn't make sense. Then we resort to the Lakshana Vritti. The children on the stage are shouting. Manchaha Kroshanti. The children or the students on the stage are shouting. That is the meaning. So the Lakshana Vritti is connected with the primary meaning. So therefore, without having a primary meaning, there is no possibility that a word could have a secondary or implied meaning either. So now, coming to the Bhagavatam Shloka. The question posed by Parishit Maharaj is based on the popular understanding that Brahman is anirdeshya, indeterminable, ineffable, ineffable. The reason for this is that ultimately all types of meaning can fit into the classifications of dravya, jati, guna and kriya. All types of meaning, all types of meaning, they describe a dravya, or they describe a particular jati, or they describe a particular quality, or they describe a particular kriya, action. So a word is material, and its various meanings are also material. But Brahman, however, does not fit into any of these categories. Because Brahman is nirgune, it is beyond the gunas of nature. Brahman cannot be a dravya, it cannot be a jati, it cannot be a guna, it cannot be a kriya. So since the four categories, dravya, jati, guna and kriya are products of the three gunas of nature, how can the Vedas describe the indescribable Brahman? So Brahman is beyond the three gunas, and so Brahman does not belong to any dravya, jati, guna and kriya. And a word is also material, and its various meanings are also material. They only refer to dravya, jati, guna and kriya. And if Brahman does not come under any of this category, how can the words in the Vedas describe the Brahman? And if they cannot describe Brahman, how can they approach Bhagavan, who is beyond Brahman? If the words of the Vedas even cannot describe Brahman, then how can they describe the Bhagavan, who is beyond Brahman? But if Brahman cannot be described in the words, then the Brahman becomes apadartha. Apadartha means a meaningless combination of words like rabbit horns. Rabbit horn of a rabbit. A horn of a rabbit there is no such thing as a horn of a rabbit. So Brahman will become like a horn of a rabbit. That means it becomes a meaningless combination of words like horn of a rabbit. But then the Shastras say that Shastra Yonitvat, Brahman can be understood only through the Vedas. And Krishna instructed Shrutadev and Bahulashva on the path of Sanmarga, in the knowledge of the absolute truth, in the path of surrendering to the absolute truth. So therefore, Parishit Maharaj is getting a doubt. He acknowledges that Brahman as well as Bhagavan are the subject matter of the Vedas, but does not know how can it be possible. Because Brahman, Bhagavan, they don't belong to Dravya, Jati, Guna and Kriya. And the words, any word which is material, any words are material, words describe an entity which is within the Dravya, Jati, Guna and Kriya through any of these vrittis, either through Mukhya vritti or Lakshana vritti or through Vyanjana vritti. So how can the Vedas describe the Brahman? This is the question of Parishit Maharaj. Then in response to this, Shukdev Goswami gives an answer. So that answer is the second shloka. Just in one shloka he gives an answer. But that shloka is a very deep shloka. We may take 2 sessions to cover the next. So that we'll see next class. If anybody has any questions, you can. Thanks. It will be a little difficult to understand because these concepts are a little new. But if you go through it once, it's not very say, like in our ordinary day-to-day dealing also we use this Mukhya vritti, Lakshana vritti. For example, Lakshana vritti, suppose you go to the ticket counter, you ask the ticket person, give me 2 Grand Road. 2 Grand Road दीजिए, 2 Grand Road. So literally, give me 2 Grand Road. That means literally, are you asking? You are giving 20 rupees. Then saying that give me 2 Grand Road means I want to buy the Grand Road area. 2 roads in the Grand Road area. Give me, and then you are giving 20 rupees. That's what literally it means. Our Grand Road area, suppose it is having a Grand Road, it means suppose it is having an area of 1 lakh square feet. There 1 square feet costs say 20,000 rupees. So 1 lakh square feet means what? 1 lakh square feet multiplied by 20,000. That many area flats are there. That means the amount of what will be the cost of the price? 1 lakh multiplied by 20,000. 1 square feet is 20,000 rupees. That means 20,000 lakh. But you are giving 20 rupees. So if the person, the ticket counter, if he is taking the literal meaning of the word, 2 Grand Road, give me 1 Grand Road, and then giving 10 rupees. Then he will say that you want to buy 1 lakh square feet in the Grand Road, and then you are giving 10 rupees. What are you thinking about it? Have you gone mad? He should ask that question actually. But he doesn't ask that question because he is taking the Lakshana vritti of the sentence. Give me 1 Grand Road means give me 1 ticket to go to Grand Road railway station. That he is taking the Lakshana vritti of that. In that way, in the everyday, day-to-day, this one, we use Lakshana vritti. But just that we don't know the term Lakshana vritti. But in our everyday, day-to-day, this one we use Lakshana Vritti. Sometimes Vyangya Vritti also we may use suggested meaning. So Mukhya Vritti has 3 types: Yaugiki, Rudi, and Yoga Rudi. Lakshana Vritti has 3 types: Jagat Swartha, Ajagat Swartha, Jagad Ajagat Swartha. And then there is Vyangya Vritti. But all these are the 3 ways of understanding the meaning of a word using Mukhya Vritti, Lakshana Vritti, and Vyangya Vritti. And when the Vedas are Swata Pramana, self-authoritative, that means Vedas and the Vedas, if the Vedas describe the Brahman, then the Vedas by their Mukhya Vritti, they have to describe the Brahman. Because Mukhya Vritti is a Swata Pramana. The Mukhya Vritti is self-authoritative, that we don't use any other logic to understand the meaning. We just, as soon as the word is uttered, we immediately understand the meaning. With the Vedas are Swata Pramana, and the Vedas describe the Brahman, and the Vedas by the Mukhya Vritti itself should describe the Brahman. But the Brahman does not belong to any Dravya, Jati, Guna, and Kriya. And in this world, any words which are used, words describe one of these 4 categories. Some Dravya, some Jati, some Guna, or Jati means a class, some Guna, some Kriya. But Brahman, because it is Nirguna, it does not belong to any of these 4. So then how can the Vedas describe the Brahman? If the Vedas cannot describe the Brahman, then the words of the Vedas will become like the Brahman becomes a apadartha, that which cannot be described by the words. But then the Krishna instructed Shutadevan Bahulashva in the path of attaining the supreme absolute truth, Sanmargam. And it is said that Shastra Yonitvat, the Brahman can be understood only through the Vedas. So there appears to be a contradiction. Therefore, Parishit Maharaj is asking the question. And Shukadeva Goswami will explain that how the words of the Vedas describe the Brahman, the next shloka. Hare Krishna. So I suggest that you can go through this 98.1 2 times. And then it's so this week also, because of Saturday, occupied actually. Next week also we will have to have one of the weekdays in the afternoon. I'll let you know. Next week, Saturday also will be busy. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील जीव गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय. And today also I thought, Krishna Bihari Prabhu put Jiva Goswami disappearance day. I thought we can, as an offering to Jiva Goswami, can have this discussion and observe that much. So we'll end here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.